have to first pick this. You don't have to. Pick up another power pick if you want.
Yeah, you don't have to. The one thing I will say is you can't give away other elements of your composition. So maybe wanting to go for the Cork just because, like, everyone's just playing Corky in every composition right now, so it doesn't give anything away. But they decide no, they're gonna go Meteor B1 Nidalee.
Right, okay, so what is Nidalee good at? Great at shutting down junglers which can't fight early. So if you're going to play something, I mean, obviously if you played the Lily the last game into a Nidalee, that can be difficult in the jungle matchup. You need to pick something that can skirmish a little early. Typically, your AD junglers, Diego can be good, Lee Sin, Xin Sao. So that's why you see the AP jungler, mid lane rather, locked into Tanguy, and Ogre LeBlanc opens up something a bit more skirmishy that can fight back against Nidalee, or at least survive.
Was that just applause for Ming locking in Nautilus? I'm pretty sure I just heard the crowd applauding
Hooray!
Ming Nautilus. Oh dear. Haichao does go for Cookie. In the end, Skarner locked in as well with the Twisted Fate and the Rumble Man. That is pretty nice. However, ZDZ could go for the Mordekaiser, and I don't think it would take much to have a better performance on the Burdol.
Yeah, Burdol, I'm getting a little worried about him in summer. This is the third series, and Burdol's been looking very kind of suspect on the other side. We have seen some of that cards being played, but we did say early skirmish AD junglers probably could have fit that, but the Diego is what we've more commonly seen into the Nidalee. Can farm fairly quickly, as we saw from Meteor in the last game, and can survive the Nidalee just by Wing Eing out of the play as well. Getting around to the second round of these fans, really need to see what Tanguy is going to play into the Corki. Wouldn't surprise me if Talia is banned away, and oh no, sorry, he's already picked up that LeBlanc level. So it's instead AD carry and top lane to be picked.
I've got to say, I'm liking what I see in the RNG draft so far. Like, very clear-cut win condition in. Get a hook, blow them up, get a reset, right? It just makes sense on paper if they can find those angles. We'll see if they can find two more picks that will fit within that remit as well. Obviously, they played the Jhin in the first game, so I won't be able to go for that. The Varus is gone, the Kalista is gone. Like, a lot of these long-range supportive AD carries are taken off the board. However, Huanfeng's Ezreal could still be in the mix.
Not a bad pick right now, too. We've seen Light over on Weibo pick that champion up a few times. ZDZ is going to be quite hard pushed to figure out what he's going to do top lane. It wouldn't even surprise me to see if Cassandre has banned away now as well, because you have kind of two answers, right? You have the lane dominant picks of the Twisted Fate, the Mordekaiser, and then the Rumble, all of which are banned, and then you can match it with something like the Cassandre, which actually hasn't been banned, so now we could maybe just see that from ZDZ, lock in a tank v tank and just try and out-team fight the other top laner without really having an interactive 1v1.
I'm curious if RNG will just lock their top lane here and go for, I guess, AD carry counter pick, or if there's a priority AD carry that they want to try and go for. It's not really a counter pick top lane, is it? But just go tank v tank, like you said.
It's just, hey, so, done. You've gotten rid of all the champions which can deal with Skarner and lane. Time to be really boring for a bit. So it is tank versus tank. Both will be looking to flank in later team fights, or just run straight down the middle of a team fight, be that front line. LGD, they have to lock in something which can maybe play around their range advantage. If they could lock in the Jhin themselves, called Jhin, very long range. Of course, with the Varus banned away, there's one of the other long range champions taken off the table. And this would be a bit of a different support to lock in. Of course, we did see that LG picked up that one as well. They do need a bit more engaged. They need engaged one way or another. So looking at something like the Leonas, the Rels, they can help.
Okay, the Rel's going to be locked in. I was just going to say, Camille could be flexed tougher than Skarner support. We've seen loads of Skarner support in solo queue. Moving on,
wow.
It is the Rel from JinJiao. And we'll see what RNG are going to go for. Jinx, reasonably safe in this lane. You can farm up and also gets the reset. So kind of leans into that playstyle that we discussed earlier alongside that Diego. And it will be locked in for one.
You can also just safely stand behind the front line too with the extra range of Fishbones, the rocket launcher, so it's an okay laning phase. You're probably expecting a bit of wave clear advantage for RNG's bot lane in the first few levels, and afterwards you're looking at Jhin Rel having more kill pressure, and then later into the game Jinx will outscale once again. Very interested to see how LGD can kind of benefit from the Nidalee pick. They need to make sure that they've got enough control in lanes for the Nidalee to walk into the enemy jungler and to force weight off of some of his camps. I don't think we're going to see another lane swap. I hope we don't. It really didn't lead to much of that last game. I think it should be based off of winning lanes and then seeing how the junglers interact with how they can balance off.
Let's see how these junglers get involved. The early game was a bit of an odd one in terms of pathing, in terms of how these junglers interacted. It was not quite the way that we expected. Meteor getting the upper hand. This time he B1s Nidalee to start the draft off. And it's answered by a Viego on the opposite side. Let's see what Wade can do with the pick that his opponent just won.
So, Game 2. Game 1 was a mess, folks. It felt like both these teams were snatching and grabbing. It felt like they really need to step up in regards to playing towards a consistent game plan, rather than just meeting up in mid lane and hoping that one of the top laners comes out of it alive before an objective. Need to see something cleaner from them. Have an awful way to climb up in this group.
Need to see something more. I'd love to see a better look from RNG. Maybe ZDC coming back in can be the answer, but it's tank v tank at the top side. I don't know how much that'll influence things as we head into game 2.
Did we only get one JinJiao for one of the teams?
I'm pretty sure.
Did we really just check out after one?
Pretty sure LGD just won the first game and then got absolutely zero fan support off the back of it. Tanguin grabs himself 15 gold, sorry, 17 gold off of his space strike. We're getting a whole level 1 brawl here. This JinJiao is in the wrong spot right now. Crashed down into a flash, somehow gets out with his life.
Yeah, he's in the wrong part of town. He gets out alive. So LGD, they were looking for an invade to get Meteor ahead of the curve. We did say one of the big things about Nidalee is getting into the enemy jungle and getting the enemy Viego off of their camps. Not quite able to do that here, and of course loses the flash on JinJiao. The Ignite on the other side being down, though, does mean that in terms of laning phase, it's not the worst thing for the 2v2. You actually would take Hex Flash being up on JinJiao for the Ignite being down on me.
Yeah, flash for Ignite. I feel like the Ignite cooldown is very, very low, so it will be back soon. Equally, JinJiao has Hex
1,
Flash,
2, and 3.
So it's kind of, neither I don't think are going to be too upset about the cooldown having been used. We'll see how this other game goes. No lane swaps this time around. It is going to be the 2v2 down in this bottom side. Jinx, incredibly strong at level 1, just in that because of Fishbones, there are very few AD carries that can contend you with Prio, unless there's some significant threat onto you.
Oh man, do you remember back to the Jinx of Phelios meta of, I think it was spring 2022? That's a heck of a hook. Remember, he has no flash, so he's going to take a bit of damage there. Of course, no Ignite to threaten that kill, though, on the whole. But remember back in the Jinx of Phelios 2022 spring meta, there was so much learning done about, well, Jinx could push in for the first 3 levels, go back for a cull, but then when you hit level 6, the enemy champion starts getting kill pressure on those, so even you can kill waves, you might just die yourself. That feels like we're getting towards that understanding of the Jinx again, where you need to be very careful once it gets a few levels into the game. Even though you kill waves quickly, you just have to be careful that you don't get kind of all in on the other side when the other champions start getting a lot more, like hundreds of 0 powers.
Yeah, it feels like there's often that situation where you have been very strong so far, you can get a little overconfident with that fact and underestimate the power spikes coming out from your opponents, especially champions like Herald that do get better after that, first level, not necessarily the strongest in the game, a little Alistair-esque. But level 2 looks pretty good, especially with the root from Shaoye. But Wei has arrived to deny the hook, and the hook is gorgeous from Ming. Redemption for game 1 from Ming.
And Wei gets the kill. We said the jungle matchup can be very important. First kill onto Meteor, who late flashes, gets absolutely caught out of the water with that hook. That's a mega point.
Meteor goes down for first blood. Fast recall grabs Dark Seal. Now that is a confident recall right there.
That's all right, you win round 1.
Yeah, he's coming back for more. Meteor not to be deterred. Wei very happy with the way that started though. First blood for him. Has a pickaxe as well as a longsword on his first recall.
Oh, he is so happy. Pickaxe as a first back is just really, really sweet to get into. Gonna go into replay of this. Meteor a little bit low health in the first clear. Not gonna lie, I wonder if he ended up tanking a little bit more camp down than he would have wanted. Then Ming throws the hook through his own minions and gets that one really, really on target.
So, shenanigans right off of the bat.
Yes.
Both junglers come down to the bottom side. We have a little bit of a sparring match. A great hook from Ming. and a kill over to the side of RNG. A much-needed lead, and you can see almost 1,000 gold up at this point in the game, which I wouldn't have expected quite that much of a lead. Nice trade from Haichao. Valkyrie's to the spot where he knows Tangyuan has to go back to. Good bit of damage coming out from that Corki. But overall, great stuff from RNG in a matchup where I think a lot of people were seeing LGD as favourites based on that BLG series. RNG showing that they're not done just yet.
Yeah, to an extent. But then the problem is, it's just like, well, LGD looked great against BLG, and they still lost 0-2. I guess that's maybe not the best criticism to give, because it is BLG who have managed to clutch out a number of really crap games for them in the group stage so far. This is really the important match, because you start to learn, well, okay, do we have stronger individual laners between the two of these? Is it just the whole setup problem for both these teams? If they're both crap at setup, who comes out ahead of the clutched out team fights? We might get ourselves another 3v3 for the spot side as well, so we might get to judge some of the early game plans, which have been a mess so far for both of these teams. It really is starting to kind of see things on the same level when you're down in the dirt. Who's coming out ahead?
It's difficult. And getting the better of the trade this time around. The level 6 hit does mean that he has that extra bit of burst in the trading pattern from his ultimate, and his ultimate is such a short cooldown as well. Wei spotted on a ward. He tries to move into the enemy jungle, but won't go deep, just dropping a bit of vision for himself, and will start this trade.
Meteor's going to hop into river. He was thinking about recalling. Give him some of the attack speed buff. There is flash back up for JinJiao. There is Ignite, so them as well, and we're going in.
Oh, Ming denied on the escape. Root comes through, and Meteor finishes the job. Nice little gank there from LGD, capitalizing on the fact they knew Wei was on Drake.
And there's a whole lot of setup in that bot lane to make Meteor's life a lot easier too. The death means that Wei can't stick on towards that dragon. That means that potentially LGD can go towards that. Wei will likely go towards the grubs on the other side, knowing that he can't really be on the bottom side of the map now. Meteor's not actually going to go towards that objective on the bot side, but at least stops the dragon take from RNG.
I think Meteor maybe is just going to head straight up towards the grubs himself to stop Wei getting that objective. However,
how quick do they get there,
Ming is moving over. Yeah, Huanfeng is moving over as well. The whole gang is moving over from RNG. We could have a scrap here. Burdol having to dive through the wall just to get himself out of dodge. That's one grub already.
And the smite hasn't been used yet from Wei, so Wei should be able to smite away one other. If he doesn't use the smite in the second one, he might be able to just do a smite fight for the third, and seeing that that's gone down without the smite, Meteor, Burdol, they realize they can't enter into that river safely. It's going to be all three going over to the side of Wei. Gave up all 6 in game 1. That'll be a nice return to that kind of objective for them in game number 2.
I'm just kind of surprised that the Drake didn't go down, that Meteor decided to go for the recall and try and contest this objective. That didn't work out for him. He's going to clear his top quadrant, and then I guess head to try and go towards his Drake. At least his bot lane does have a massive push moving in, so LGD, in theory, would still be able to go for that.
Nah, Meteor would rather clear his cat. You just don't get it, Joe. It's about the jungle farm. It's about the dopamine of, yay, that's gold from killing a grub. Meteor's stuck on his top side. Yeah, I think that this is why I was saying kind of just earlier, you have to judge some of the early game plans when these two teams face up against each other, because it feels like the structure of both of these teams' games has been not completely there. And you can see that the idea is that they know that they're going to go towards the grubs, so let's go contest them on the grubs, without realizing that they didn't have the mid and top lane pressure to go towards that they didn't have the timing to go towards it before they went back down, before they went down. Just feels like LGD, they have half of the right plan, but not all of it. RNG, you could say similar things about, particularly from last game as well. We are expecting a lot of growth to come in this area, because this feels like this is where they are most kind of off-centered right now.
Yeah, and you got to remember that both these organizations are those legacy organizations, and for LGD that means it's a long time since they were one of the top orgs in the LPL. But for RNG, it's not that long ago that this was a team going and winning MSI multiple times in a row. Like, that's only a couple of years ago. And yet, RNG now just feels like a shadow of their former selves. Obviously, a lot of roster changes since that time, but even still, it does feel like a distant memory at this stage when you watch how RNG play today.
Dragon is still up. You can see that the push in from bot side is going to give LGD a leg up and look towards that as well, and towards mid just about. I don't really think they can start this Dragon up for free. Level 6s have been hit by everyone. This could be an explosive fight coming up. There's Scuttle's going down, positioning for LGD in the river, but they're against the wall. Geography of blue side taking Dragon is quite dangerous.
Meteor smiting the crab there, but he's got the double smite stack, so it will be back up for Treadway. Dodges an all-important spear. If that had hit, perhaps it could have led to something.
Ming's
But
on vision.
the target instead. The Magnet Storm comes in, but the death charge is pretty good to try and answer Meteor. 1 HP away, finishes the job. Reset comes on through. JinJiao now nowhere to go. Hex Splash can't get you out of this one. And the ult over the wall. Huanfeng grabbing kill credit, and RNG are off to the races.
And once again, it feels like both of these teams had incomplete setup around that objective. LGD, yes, they got into the river first, but then actually they're in danger of the engage. They snatch and grab at it. They don't manage to find themselves the fight. RNG, they're going to get themselves that dragon. They get themselves some golden pocket into important places. They keep themselves a slim gold lead over LGD. And LGD, that's a dangerous moment, because if Nidalee is dying in early game situations like that, the champion becomes much less useful. They get Ming on vision. That's a good start to this. They manage to find out the engage spot. They almost shut him down, but he gets the aftershock, gets himself that shield, and he gets a really good ult throughout the middle of this too. Shaoye gets knocked up alongside Meteor, and that's kind of where things fall apart. Feels like the initial opening to this fight just didn't go the way that LGD wanted it to.
It really, really didn't. And suddenly, like you say, the aftershock really being the difference maker. But crucially, I want to quickly point to Meteor's inventory once again, because he picked up a Dark Seal. He then got a kill, got it to 2 stacks. It's back down to 0 stacks once again. The snowball being stopped. And remember, this was the first pick for LGD.
True.
This is what they consider to be the most important pick of their draft.
Yeah, it's, tell you what, we've got second spawn of grubs, so we might get a fight around this too. It does just kind of feel like LGD, again, they have like half of the picture. One of the champions feels like it's making sense in the way that's being played, but the rest of the picks aren't necessarily on the same page. LGD, they are going to get themselves to the grubs in time this time. It feels like with RNG still pushing mid lane, LGD should have a free swing of this.
And I mean, Shaoye moving over alongside a Corki, who will just one-shot that minion wave. So LGD 3 grubs here to match RNG's 3 from earlier on. RNG quite happy to just concede this one. In the meantime, ZDZ just pushing up on that bottom side. We expect Burdol perhaps will TP down to try and catch that wave, so long as Ming can't get involved and deny any TPs or anything like that. Well, that's 2 plates in the bottom side.
You know, big tangent. We saw a lot of Mordekaiser in the Realm of Death. It inspires visions of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was talking about pieces missing from the puzzle. Did you see that news story recently where I think it was actually a Pokemon CCG player cheated by eating one of their opponent's cards so they couldn't use it? Did you see that?
No,
Someone ate one of their opponent's cards so they couldn't use it. So when they got their deck checked, they didn't have the card because it had been eaten. Someone ate their opponent's playing cards.
I mean, first of all, that can't possibly be good for digestive health. Second
It's
of
loads
all,
of fiber, you don't understand. Part of any well-respecting TCG player's diet.
Yeah. Second of all, surely you also just get disqualified yourself. Surely defacing an opponent's deck must be a disqualifiable offense. Like, that is a pretty flawed rule book.
Look,
if
I'm
I
not
could
gonna
just
lie.
take a hammer to the table and win the tournament.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw the headline because, oh my god, who would do that? Well, I don't know, I've seen crazier things within different gaming settings, but I've seen crazy things before. That was the only detail which stuck out. I would imagine since they found out that someone did, in fact, eat someone's cards, they probably did get punished for it. And I hope that they were compensated too, the other person, because that stuff is expensive, by the way. Those cards, they don't come cheap.
I'm just trying to figure out what the League of Legends equivalent of that would be. Like trying to scoff down someone's mouth or something. It doesn't really quite translate in the same way.
You go to the other person's client and refund a champion purchase. That's probably the closest you get.
Yeah, the issue being tournament realm, they technically never bought them.
That's true.
Oh, dear.
You know, I never wanted to own Bard as a champion because of the crimes that champion has committed against me from Season 5. Someone gifted me the champion, so I can no longer refund it. You can't refund gifted champions. All these years I spent avoiding that person.
You'll have Bard, and you'll be grateful about it, okay?
I eat your greens, same kind of energy.
Yeah. I've got to say, old school LPL caster Rusty would be furious at your Bard slander. He's a big Bard man himself, as RNG muscling into the top side. Remember, Herald has spawned out LGD here to match. ZDZ on the bottom side has that TP advantage. We saw Burdol TP to match earlier, which means TP's tower goes down. Wait, forced to ult out of the pit. Now everyone grouping up. Ming is already chunked massively. The hook goes wide. The poke is devastating from LGD.
Keep on going. We've got Nidalee Spears. When's the next hook up? The next hook could be everything. Flash, ult, ZDZ goes in.
ZDZ's Q3 will do the job beautifully done. He steps back into the roster and steps up in the fight.
Takes himself a bot lane turret, teleports to the fight, takes himself a kill. The Herald to come on top of it. RNG bringing back in ZDZ. I'm not going to say it's all on him, but it's definitely helped in this last phase of play. They can use that Herald immediately on mid lane. That should be this going down, I would have to imagine. But that means that LGD really feels like strategically they just lost a really, really huge amount in the last minute or two.
Yeah, honestly, RNG really enjoying this second game. The draft feels much more cohesive. The way that they're playing as a team feels much better. ZDZ definitely getting a lot of work done in that top side with the TP advantage. The TP's back into the play and makes the fight happen as well. I mean, what more could you ask?
That's a team which hasn't had their cards eaten, Joe. I tell you that right now. They've got all on their deck right here. And they've, yeah, it feels like just the last minute ago.
Are you suggesting that Juice ate one of their cards in the previous game? Is that the extension of logic here?
No, I would have thought they would have the LGD being the card munchers in this case. Because, of course, it's the opponent which has to do it. Anyway, ZDZ, again, he does really well in this fight. We already kind of went over this. Took top bot lane turret. Nice to get that first kill.
I will say
that was all good.
That does sound like an absolutely fantastic insult. Absolute card muncher. What is wrong with you card muncher? Anyway, sorry, I think I just completely interrupted you to chat or to tribe, but, you know, it's that kind of series.
In some games like this, I appreciate that because, yeah, I mean, to be real with you all, not to sugarcoat it, this game's setup has sucked from both these teams in a lot of different cases. It has felt like it's been more like the pitch battle of olden days, where you just decide to turn up gracefully to a battlefield, and then you all do battle, rather than actually kind of like trying to figure the ins and outs of how to attack people before the setup comes through. And it really does feel like it's becoming just 5v5, stand on either side, no flanks, wait for the skill shots to hit. It's not particularly confident, decisive play, and I get that both these teams will be cagey against each other. They're at 0-2, important series to determine who can come out on top of what we assume to be the bottom two teams in this group, but we need to see more from this setup.
Certainly do. Herald comes down in the mid lane, wave cleared, but RNG, I don't think they want to stop just yet. Ming gonna slam that one in, but immediately engage him, but Burdol flies in from the side. Who said there will be no flanks? Burdol certainly doesn't agree.
Alright, okay, Burdol has something to prove, especially has something to prove after that last game. Had a difficult game on the Mordekaiser in game 1, 1,000 gold down here in game 2, but it doesn't stop him from taking one back. LGD have still lost the mid lane out of turret though, so again, in terms of the strategic, large-scale problems of this game, losing mid lane out of turret is a suck for LGD. RNG still walk away happily from the overall phase of play, and now we get to the point where LeBlanc can be in a side lane, and maybe now you can get some inroads into the enemy jungle now that mid lane out of turret is also down, but we won't really see the fruits of that labor up until the next big objectives and see if they can set up in time for that.
And speaking of those next big objectives, it's 2 minutes on the clock until Meteor tries to rush Baron. So keep your eyes on that top side of the map. He'll find a way. He will find an angle, an avenue in. Way though, trying to make a dive happen onto Burdol on this top side. There's a tanky Skarner to go for.
He has flash and he has ult. He's just going to clear this wave, folks.
Okay,
or is he might actually also just die.
Tower actually ults out of the Skarner ult. Well played by Way. Talk about a heartbreaker. It's a heartbreaking play for Burdol.
Yeah, stabs him right in the heart. The Scorpion goes down. I honestly thought that Burdol would be able to just clear the wave. I'm really surprised that he could manage that. We're going to praise him anyway, though. Dies in the top lane. Whatever. Gets himself a play right the way through the wall. Drills right on through it. And gets caught out by Huanfeng at the... not by Huanfeng, by Shaoye at the same time. I saw the Jin, and I just assumed. But Burdol comes up with the rest of his team. That's a good kill.
Nicely done there. Burdol and JinJiao syncing up well to punish Ming. I did think that when Ming was in the Herald, I was like, you're going to have to get real close on this one, and unfortunately, it doesn't end well for Ming.
The problem is, every single player, not even just in the LPL, but across the world, just has that vision of Hacker now, the play he made last week to get the getaway driver. Of course, that's, I have to say, I don't get surprised by plays in the League of Legends that much. Folks, when you watch, like, 30 games of League of Legends a week, more than that, you don't get surprised by that much anymore. That one genuinely got me though. I was like, wait, hang on, how the heck did that work? Every player who steps into a Herald now just has that afterthought in the background. Maybe it doesn't need to hit attack. Maybe I can escape with this. Maybe I can have the highlight reel play.
Everyone's seen that it's possible.
Yeah.
And that means...
he's beginning to believe.
Yeah, that means the floodgates are open for potential Herald plays. However, Ming was actually just charging at a tower. Perhaps underestimated his opponents on that one. Drake spawning soon though. RNG has to be there.
Flash down.
Oh, no, you can't go through the wall while you're rooted. Way pulled in though, and actually, I don't know if he can get out of this one, but Shaoye threatened by Ming with the depth charge. JinJiao is the one that can't get out of the play. Hook comes through. Ming finding angles in this one and forcing LGD away.
And you can see that RNG, they can follow up so easily with the Viego ultimate over a wall, with LeBlanc getting the double dash, with Jinx with the long-range ultimate to Meteor. This is not your jungle anymore. You've got better back off, buddy. RNG, they're going to get themselves the dragon, they get themselves the kills. We're getting to the point now where, of course, Baron has spawned up on the table. With Meteor in red side jungle on the bot side of the map, he can't rush Baron. Disaster for LGD. What are they going to do?
This is
what they do.
I will say, he's making a beeline towards that part of the map. There is a scuttle crab up, I'm hoping that's his focus.
I'm a minute late for my Baron appointment. I'm a minute late.
That's going to be so point, though. I mean, this is looking pretty good for RNG right now. Burdol just get caught on the face check.
And again, the follow-up is just so huge from the side of RNG. Their ability to cross walls is really nice. Ming turns up to the play, gets the ultimate through too, and whenever you're starting these fights off badly, you have to think of the double resets. If LGD don't have setup, they're face checking, they're losing all the HP on the front line, you don't want to re-engage and give a reset over to, you know, the deathless Jinx and Viego, who are very happy with their farm and items at this point in the game.
Very happy indeed. I mean, it's not like this composition from RNG doesn't scale or anything like that. Like,
absolutely
you've got late game Jinx coming their way with a big front line in front of it. Not to mention, LeBlanc in a sideline later on in the game is a nightmare to deal with. And who's going to match the LeBlanc in a sideline? Like Corki, Skarner? I don't think so.
It'll be JinJiao. It's got to be. The Ral is just going to lock him up on the tower. It's going to be wonderful. You see it now. It'll make as much sense as anything else which happens in this game. Trust me.
It will make the same amount of sense as everything else in the series. LGD forced on the D13 2 here. Potential flank coming out. Tangyuan punting at this stage in the game. But Baron is up.
I love how we talk about how LeBlanc, great in the side lane, immediately heads mid lane instead. It's like, nah, don't want to push the side lane. It game's back now, but he's just been hanging around mid lane instead, looking for the poke. Gonna get himself some of that grub damage on the tower. Of course, you don't get the might, you can still get the extra damage over time. So killing Tullets, all the same. I kind of miss seeing Lichbane LeBlanc. Showmaker played a little bit of it. It could be really nice in these side lanes at this kind of point. Would have been kind of nice to play through that turret there. RNG, full control, just really happy with this right now.
I want to take a moment to actually say something serious and educational on the stream. Like, him moving to mid lane there is him playing side lane well, right? He didn't have any minions, he's waiting for the next minion wave. That's your opportunity. When you're side laning as a solo laner, push that wave. If you've got prio, move into the enemy jungle, move towards where your team are pressuring, and be that potential flank threat, right? Like, again, yeah, like you say, the wave not there, so Tango moves up to his team, and it secures tier 2.
Yeah, Tangyuan just choosing his moment to dip out of those side lanes. The worst thing is to face check into a LeBlanc, because 2,000 gold up individually. There is a point where I think this comes for Syndra, I think it comes for Ahri, for Zoe, for LeBlanc. There are points where the chunk or the poke becomes a full-blown assassination. And when you are anyone but Burdol, and actually even Burdol at this point, you need to be very, very careful stepping into Fog of War. Tangyuan has swept out basically the entirety of bot side jungle. They have picked up a sweeper on the LeBlanc as well. You've got pink wards being dropped in the bot side jungle. You can see that LGD, they have to reclaim that vision control bot side really slowly, because they just don't know if they're just going into a straight up, you know, double sigil distort combo, which will one-shot most of their team.
I'll vigilantly return to the Dark Seal watch as well here. As it's
Thank you. It's very important to me on a spiritual level. It's like the Magi's library card.
Yeah, exactly. One stack for Meteor right now. Tangyuan, he's grabbed one of his own, and it's on 4 at this point, so we'll keep our eyes on those two. Let's take a look at Shaoye's inventory as well. Gone for the double crit cape at this point to just try and make sure more of those shots are critting than not.
Yeah, and the thing with Jin is that when he gets a load of crit, he just becomes really fast. Do you remember that remember the first time Earth came out, we had I Am the Fast? That was largely due to that as well. You just get like 1,000,000 attack speed, 1,000,000 crit, it all goes into somehow movement speed when you crit stuff. Jin's scalings are really weird on his passive, and we'll have to see whether Shaoye can turn this. That can be damage breakpoint around this Baron. You can see again, vision control taken in by RNG. I was worried if the fight was going to start erupting there, but let's just chill down again.
Honestly, reading Jin's passive is comparable to reading those revision books that you had to do before your year 6 stats. There's a whole lot of words there, and I'm not a big fan of words or numbers.
It's like, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm not reading them.
I gave it to lead, not to read. RNG though, it does feel like they're stalling out a little bit. They have had control for a little old while now, and I do feel like they're at a point where they are strong enough where you theoretically could threaten a Baron, you theoretically could at least try and bait the enemy team into a Baron. So far, we are just kind of ping-ponging things.
Yeah, and RNG, they are no strangers to stalling out in some games. In their first series versus Team WE, they had game 1 victory, well, very close to a victory, and they threw it in the late game. That was way on the cards as they were scaling even then. So again, it's just come back to fighting through the mid lane. They could be playing through side lanes, they could be pulling LGD apart. Maybe they're afraid of the teleport, they're going in now.
Hook goes through, and that's an easy kill onto JinJiao. Nicely done by RNG. They find their moment, Ming finds a hook, and that'll be sold.
That'll be sold, they'll get themselves full Baron potentially too if they want to. Feels like they can just run over the entirety of this map. They're sticking in mid lane for a lot. Guys, just go to an objective. Way's taking down Dragon by himself, that might just be it.
I think that's why RNG have stuck around, right? Make sure that there's no risk of LGD getting some Baron shenanigans off. We've seen that Meteor is more than willing. RNG making sure they stay in the area while their jungler does the Drake. Burdol is now going to get Q3'd. Oh god, surely this doesn't turn into more of a play. Surely not, LGD. You can't get caught like this. Way on a flank as well. Burdol stunned up. He is damn tanky. He's been being hit for about 20 minutes. Finally falls. ZDZ once more, as well as they found JinJiao for a second time in the play. JinJiao crashes down into his base, but one ping might just be enough.
Might be. I don't think the Jinot's going to do enough to return the favor either. RNG, yes, we felt they were stalling out. It does not like LGD had a good answer for them. TinyOne lands the chain.
Oh, he flashes for the kill as well. TinyOne, that was gorgeous.
Clean combo from the LeBlanc. That will 100% seal the Baron. They get themselves the soul, they get themselves the kills, they get themselves the big objective. TinyOne fails to hop over the wall, but who gives a damn? RNG, they break out of their stall. They should be able to kickstart this engine into life once again. I think this Baron push should probably be the end of the game. We said that they have some strong side laning champions. TinyOne goes back and he's got himself a whole load of Dark Seal stacks. We're still watching that one. And he's got himself 3 items alongside that too. Feels like RNG should be able to ride this Baron into a victory.
Maybe Juice was the problem. maybe I just don't understand it all. It's a 9,000 gold lead now in favor of RNG. They've got an Ocean Soul and a Baron. If they can't close the game out at this point, well, there are a lot of very big questions to ask about this RNG roster. Let's take another look. As it started off with just a great hook. In fact, no, this is the follow-up.
This is after.
Yeah.
So we had the first hook in mid lane. We said, oh, okay, RNG's stalling out, but they find themselves the hook, and now this is after they have Ocean Soul. They took it in the midst of this play. Bray comes in from the flank, and Burdol, yeah, he's tanky. Starter is at the point where it doesn't really matter how far behind the game he is. He actually can tank up a lot of things for a lot of time, but just not 5 people all at once. LGD, as we said, they're likely to fall apart now. RNG crushing through these turrets, going into a 4-1, making sure they can't get engaged onto by JinJiao. The rest of them, RNG just continually rolling forwards.
Look at Siege, both mid and bot lane right now, using these cannons to try and whittle away. Honestly, Huanfeng struggling to get close. Obviously, there is still threat on the enemy side, like Haichao and Shaoye. Plenty of damage if he oversteps slightly. And LGD trying to threaten an all-in here, but JinJiao can't find the end.
No, the Ocean Soul is helping a little bit. You can see that even if there is bits of poke coming through, the Ocean Soul is just adding the extra little bit of staying power to RNG. They're in the 4-1 though. ZDZ is going to go towards this mid laner and shuffle in that wave towards mid lane. One of these waves will break at some point. I don't think LGD have the wave clear to consistently survive for another minute.
Okay.
You see, that's already half the
figured it out. They figured it out.
Yeah.
They're not just hitting the wave, they're waiting for the mid-wave as well. See, League of Legends teams can learn, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
RNG realized desync waves were not going to win them this game. Now they crash the bot wave as slowly as possible while the mid-wave catches up. Potential engage from LGD, but Burdol is so chunked that they can't really follow up on anything. But ZDZ has found his way to crack open the base.
It's like we've only had this version of the Baron for 10 years. It changed at like season 5 or something. Wow, we've learned after all this time. Somehow, someway, gonna get that first stack and get excited off the tower for Huanfeng. That'll see through both of the inhibitors. It won't be the end of the game, but it's kind of as good as that. 2 inhibitors down. Feels like with Elder coming up and while those inhibitors will still be down as well with the top wave. Now on the table for RNG, even without the Baron, I don't think LGD have what it takes to wave clear through all of this.
No, I don't think so either. A team comes out from Haichao. I'm not sure he actually saved that much time with home guards potentially available there, but we'll be able to get a rocket onto the wave, I guess. And
yeah, I don't get that one either. That one's a weird one. You've got Elder up in 2 minutes, Baron up in 3. Might have been useful. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know how much difference mid lane TP really will make. It's not like Haichao's going to go for a flank, but I don't know.
It's not quite the there's not quite the old. I say the old. The very recent, the artist formerly known as the package. You could teleport in for that. That was fun. You could flank with those.
Yes,
but,
you could.
LPL, we tried that for a while. There were some iterations where it was good. There were many iterations where in the LPL it was less good, particularly recently. I feel like new iteration of Corki has been better, but the jury's out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the new iteration of Corki really player dependent. We've seen some actually legitimately good stuff. We've seen some
shanks,
lackluster stuff too. But naturally, like, Corki's kind of similar to Tristan. I feel like it fits into a slot that LPL actually have been pretty good at using, so it does make sense to me that this like AD carry mid would work for a lot of LPL teams, to be honest.
And speaking of that AD mid, has a decent amount of items, has level 16, that's a good amount of damage. It's just into a really strong front line with Ocean Soul. And you've got an Elder up in 30 seconds, Hook misses out of the pocket war. It is dangerous here. The jungle is dark and full of terrors. RNG looking to force a fight before Elder.
Oh, Meteor almost gets one shot by Zhangyuan, who turns golden and gets out without even losing a single point of HP. LGD falling apart before our very eyes as RNG want to push us to 3 games here. ZDZ finds a 1v1 versus Burdol, and Haichao has to flash to keep himself alive. A double for Huanfeng as RNG close things out. A clean second game coming out from them.
They got themselves ahead of the game, and honestly, it didn't look like it could fall away from them beyond that point. It has been a bit of a slow drudgery between the first 2 games, and it will go the distance. So game 3 with Fearless will give us some extra openings for some weird stuff to be on the Rift. Both these teams currently at the bottom of Group B, trying to get a leg up over each other.
Honestly, much better game from RNG. And when you consider this roster as well, like you got Ming and Wei and Huanfeng on this team, you've got ZDZ, who's a really solid top laner too. Like, these names should perform in a much cleaner way than what we've seen so far this split. That game, a little bit closer to what we want from the